Welcome back to the dojo, everybody. Come on in and kick off your shoes. Take a seat on the mat. We've got an interesting one for you today. I've brought two guys together that I've got a lot of respect for, and they really have, I think, some similarities to their game and something in particularly that I think has given me an advantage, and I think them have an advantage as well. And that's our trucks actually, our how we utilize our trucks to actually get us to be even more mobile and something I'm kind of calling like the mobile hunter. And so that's what our conversation today is going to be about. You're going to recognize both of them. And so we got Ryan Snow with us. Ryan had already been on the podcast probably about a month ago or so, a month and a half ago or so. And then Josh Arbogast with us, and he's almost like an unofficial co-host. I think this is like your third or fourth time being on the podcast. But why don't you guys? We all do it every time we get on here, but just a really fast snippet. If they want to get to know you, they can go back and listen to the other podcasts we did. But why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves? Ryan, you want?
All right.
Yeah, you go first, Josh.
All right. Michigan hunter, primarily public land. Haven't been doing it my whole life. Just trying to catch up to the things Matt knows. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I spend most of my season out of town, pretty far from my house. Weekend hunter, Friday through Sunday if I can. So, short season, but put in a lot of days and a lot of work in the off season, trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
Ryan Snow. I'm from South Carolina, and public land pretty much 99%. So a few small pieces here and there. Um, and same, just trying to feel like I'm a little bit late, but this is going into my fifth season, and just trying to do everything I can to stay mobile, stay efficient, and stay on top of things, and be successful in the whitetail woods.
Yeah, so Josh, you kind of like alluded to it. You said that you're hunting far away from your house. And it's funny when you think of a weekend warrior, you're actually not what I think of at all, because that's not actually true for you. Because your whitetail's 365
Yeah.
and you scout more than anybody really that I know. And so in order to do that, you're driving a long ways, you're staying overnight, and Ryan, for you, man, like, I mean, you've been scouting a lot this year too, and you're driving pretty far. How often do you hunt your home area at all anymore, Ryan?
Starting out, I did a lot, but the past 2 years, going into this year being my third, the game plan is kind of get my system dialed up at home, so that we open up in September. So pretty much all of September, and then the first part of October is around here, and then I'm going to spend what I feel like is the prime time to be in the woods out of state, and states that have bigger class deer. Because what I have found is it's the same amount of work that I would put in South Carolina to get a 110-inch deer, and maybe even a little bit harder to drive to another state and put in that same amount of work and then come up with like a 130, 140.
Yeah, Josh is a slow learner on that one. He likes to punish himself and stay in Michigan and work harder. But
I
he
love my
actually
home state, man.
and you actually do knock down nice bucks too. I mean, if I could do what you do in Michigan, I'd probably stay too. So, but both you guys are driving a long distance. Ryan, I mean, I think was it last year you lived out of your truck for like a month
Yeah, I think it was almost 36 days. Yeah, in a
in a
row,
row? In a
in a
row?
row, in a row.
That's crazy. And
Shut it down, man. He's got it.
yeah. So and
I think it's October 24th through December 2nd.
wow,
I think that's the timeline.
that's crazy, man. And don't dismiss Ryan here. He said, would you say your third year or fourth year
This is going into my fifth season, so I have
going
four
into your
years
fifth? Yep.
going into my fifth.
And we were just talking before we got on recording, and he's sitting with like all these amazing bucks behind him, and I was just kind of saying how I secretly kind of hate him for it because you've accomplished a lot in a really short period of time, and Josh, you as well. And so I want to jump into this a little bit because what one thing I think is a an asset for you guys, and feel free to disagree or agree, whatever. But from my point of view, is the fact that you guys can be so mobile. Um, I know for me, it has really opened up a lot of opportunity for me. Um, and I got to scout with Josh, and you're scouting like multiple pieces. You're kind of like you've got like a puzzle piece area that you're putting together and hopping from one area to the next. You're well, how far away from your home are you, Josh?
Uh, this weekend I scouted pieces that were 2.5 hours away. One that was about an hour and 45, and then a third one that was somewhere in the middle of the two.
Yep. And then Ryan, how far were you? You went scouting over here last few weeks. Like, how far was that drive for you?
Yeah, so I primarily stay, it's about a 7 hour one way,
Yep.
and I'll be heading back there this weekend as well. I'm gonna hit it one more time before it starts greening up too much. It's already starting to green up. It was greening up last time, but I want to get in there one more time. I'm gonna try to scout with somebody that I've been in conversation with for a while, and so just kind of put a second set of eyes on things. So,
Yeah.
but yes, it's 7 hours to the first stop. And then from there, it'll be another 7 hours to the second stop. And
Yeah.
then from there, it's about a 5 hours. So the farthest spot, which will be Illinois for me, is like 15 hours one way from my house.
Yeah, man, it's exactly what I'm talking about. So, just kind of for me too, like I remember, I think it was 2021. No, it's 2020. I went to Missouri and I was hunting down there, and I was able to bounce over like half of that state. I mean, I was moving just based off, I'd get there based off the pressure, what I'm seeing, and I never got stuck. I never was like, oh crap, this is what I have to deal with, because my setup is such that I can just easily move and get up and go, and it's really no stress for me whatsoever. How much of that, however that looks for you guys, how much of that do you think has played into your success over the years?
Huge, huge. Um, when I started really getting mobile and started traveling, I had a camper,
Yeah.
and I felt like I was always tied down to a campground, parking it somewhere. I don't know if anybody, I'm sure some of your listeners, are from the thumb of Michigan. Well, there's some pieces up there, man. I got up one morning and I drove the properties and I found 18 campers and 36 trucks. So every parking lot was full. And then, like, me and Matt went to Indiana this year, and we found that the campgrounds were still open during rut. Well, here it's like November 1st, I think, right after Halloween. Most of our campgrounds completely shut down. And then those guys that park their campers and leave them for 30 days, they're just taking up the whole space.
Mm.
So being able to get down the two tracks and crash wherever you want, it's a huge benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of did the same thing. I started with a pop-up camper,
Yep.
and as far as I was driving, I was like, man, this is another thing bouncing down the highway. You get in traffic jams, and it's just something else. It's another set of spare tires that I have to carry with me. Even small stuff, like it doesn't think it's a big deal, but it really does turn into a big deal. You're trying to go through a drive-through, or I'm pulling over at a Love's truck stop, trying to shower for the evening. It's just, I was like, man, if I could get rid of all of this and then cram it into my truck. And then also, I started realizing, when you first got into it and got the camper, me, it was like, hey, me and my buddies are gonna hunt all over the world, right? We're gonna hit this thing. And then it's like you can't collaborate everybody's schedule. It's so hard. I know, hunting caps are fun and I enjoy them a lot, but I cannot base my entire season off somebody else's schedule, especially when you got two or three different people. People's got kids and schedules and things that just come up. So I was like, I just need to worry about me and then try to condense everything down to where I can be efficient and I can hop in it and I can take off. I can literally be at work and just look at the schedule and say, I can finish up early today. I'll leave early on a Friday and make it a long weekend. And then just like that, I'm going. Like it's not a whole lot of preparation that goes into it with the jacks for the camper and all the plugs and the cords and the roof leaking and everything else. So just trying to simplify it down and be efficient.
Yeah. I'm glad you guys brought up the camper piece too, because I think that was my first like adventure into trying to become what I thought like the mobile hunter, being able to move and go where I need to go. But really what I think that was is like to me, when I look at a camper, pop up, whatever, I had them both. I had a camper and I had a pop up. It
Yep, so
it
did I.
really it's more that was actually just more shelter based. And I actually think like the way that we're utilizing our trucks right now. And by the way, like if you're listening to this, go to YouTube because we're gonna have some B-roll of our trucks in there so you can see how we set them up in the back and stuff like that. And we'll try to explain them a little bit while we're here, but you're really not gonna get the effect of it until you go and watch the video. Um, but they weren't really a tool; they were just a place to stay. Even though it brought me to a state, I really could have done the same thing if I would have just went and got a hotel room. So yeah, there was the benefit of being a little bit more affordable than a hotel. It wasn't until I just got tired of dragging whatever was behind me around that I realized that my truck was actually a hunting tool. Like it was actually getting me on bucks. And Josh, like that's what I see in a lot of your stuff, man. Is like you're using that truck. I mean, you're covering so much ground scouting every weekend and glassing from that thing. Like, like it seems like it's kind of a scouting tool for you.
100%, 100%. I mean, all through the summer, all through the spring. Once those deers start popping antlers, I'm with the spotting scope in the fields. So I'm in the truck that whole time pretty much in the summer. I don't do a lot of summer scouting. I'll lay some cameras here and there, try to get some inventory, but most of my scouting is done from the truck,
Yeah.
watching the field. So, I mean, that's a huge part of it right there. And then being able to just pull over in the parking lot, have a campfire, and crash for the night, game over, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Efficient.
Yeah.
yeah, I'll say something on that too because when I did the camper, it's for me to do my 10-day
Yep.
rut hunt, and so you prepare all year, and I got it ready for that. And then I did the truck, and that made scouting easier because I didn't even think about that beforehand until I had the truck because I didn't want to load all that up just to go scouting, right? That's a lot of work just hunting, but you do it because that's what you wait all year for. But then when I did the truck cap, now it's like, hey, if I ain't got nothing going on this weekend, I'll tell my wife, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna run up and do some scouting,
Yeah.
and I don't have to have a campsite. I can pull over, especially right now in this weather where it's not like super, super cold and I'm not relying on power and stuff like that. You can sleep anywhere. I can sleep right there on the side of the road. I can sleep at Walmart, Planet Fitness. I hit a lot of spots like that. But that this year alone, I'm on my third trip and will be fourth trip this weekend. And I wouldn't do that with a camper at all. Like I would have hunted with a camper, but I would not have put that much time into scouting if it wasn't this efficient.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I didn't realize that until like till I got the truck. And it almost was like it just like you said, Ryan. Like I'm sitting at home, everything's good at home, like there's not much to do. And I'm like, man, I'm just gonna pop up and go. I'm gonna head down to Indiana, because it was one less thing that I had to deal with because it was already set up. Everything's there, it's ready. I don't have to hook it up. I don't have to bring anything. Like, and the other, I can hustle. I don't have to worry about the trailer. And all of a sudden, like I found myself actually scouting more just because I could. I realized that it just freed me up, and a byproduct was like, holy cow, man, I'm getting a hell of a lot more scouting in right now. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
man. You know what is like, he said just taking off, right? Well, it's so much easier when it's just your truck and you go to work on a Friday and then you realize, I mean, there's days where like it'll rain by my house, but it doesn't rain where it's gonna hunt,
Yep.
so then I'm just taking off from work and shooting out. Whereas before, I live in the city. I can't leave a camper, a 24-foot camper sitting in my driveway. So,
Yep.
I'd have to go to trailer storage, which I'm paying $600 a year for, hook up the trailer, take that. And, like he said, you're always carrying, when you have that type of setup, you're always carrying more than you need.
Oh
In
yeah.
the truck, it's set up all year long.
Yep. Yeah. So typically, I think we probably like park our trucks in different locations. Like our overnight setup is different, I think, for each one of us. There might be some similarities, but Josh, where are you primarily like? I mean, do you really have that mindset of like, here's a spot, I'm pulling over and I'm good?
Um, it's happened. A lot of those properties that I hunt have just parking lots that you can kind of tuck back into. Um, if I think, like, there's been times I've been asleep and guys come through with the spotlight at night and stuff like that, and I've ended up just shifting because I don't like getting woke up in the middle of the night. But for the most part, I mean, I've crashed at rest stops, you know, but Michigan's got a ton of parking lots and a ton of true tracks back into the properties. So you can pretty much just pop up anywhere.
Yeah. How about you, Ryan? Where you usually find to stay overnight?
So scouting, it's a little bit different. Scouting, I can pop up anywhere, just like Josh said. Um, I can find spots on the public land, on the camping there, or some tracks around here, or literally just pull off on the side of the road, and I'm not even moving when I get up. I just walk up in the woods and continue to scout. Um, Hunting season, everybody's got their thing, right? That that's their crutch, and mine's a shower, man.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that the camper kind of showed me was it was just a shelter. And after getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, like me, I'm driving 8 hours one way to hunt. If I'm there, I'm not coming back and hanging out. Like even if it's not prime time or whatever, I'm sitting all day long. And then I come out of the woods, I'm tired. I've been sitting in a point five all day long. I come back and I'm not there to like cook. I'm not there to like use my camper and have the fold out chairs and get all my cooking equipment out and just have all the lights around the campers and the rugs out everywhere like you see campgrounds do. You know what I mean? Like I'm looking for a bed, like a double cheeseburger from McDonald's and the bed is like best case scenario, right? And I'm going straight to bed to get up the next morning to do it again. And so I was looking at the camper and I'm like, I'm bringing all this stuff that I do not need. So, but I'd also learned about the campsites and the same thing, Josh. I saw, a lot of the campgrounds up north. We don't have to deal with this in the south, but a lot of up north were shutting down when I was trying to go up there. Well, I ended up calling a couple and, they gave me some good rates. So they would say our campsites don't have water, but we have like a main house and it will have water. So you can, if you've just got your truck, you can park in a parking spot just in front of the main house. It's not technically a campsite, but if that's all you need, and then here's the door code for the shower, $20 a night. And it was kind of hard for me, 20, 30 minutes away from where I'm going to hunt, to have a nice hot shower every single night and a designated spot to put my truck. But, I have, hit Buc-ee's, I've hit Love's, I've hit the shower stops, there. But if it's doable, I'm driving 45 minutes one way to reset and shower every night. I, if I ever got in a predicament where it wasn't that close, there's time where it's too much, right? But I'm looking on the maps, I'm looking everywhere around where a 45-minute radius around there somewhere where I have a hot shower that night to stay at. And normally that's a $20 tent site at a campground.
Man,
Yeah.
you were a lucky dude because I'll tell you what, the closest shower for me is about an hour and a half away. And I've stretched my legs trying to get there, man. I did it one time, not to get sidetracked or anything, but I
No,
went to this
go.
little truck spot, real small truck stop, and I was like, I heard they had showers, and you always see trucks there when you're on the way up there. So I stopped in there and I'm like, how much for a shower? And she was like, $10. Okay, I'll pay $10 for a shower. I haven't showered in 5 days. So I go back, I go back, man, and it was like this little. Oh, the bathroom looked like something that you'd see in like a house in the 70s. And it was just a single bathroom, toilet, little vanity, and a shower. and it was like the most sketch place I ever shot. Like I felt like somebody was just gonna walk in on me the whole time. It was terrible. There's a Love's, but it's about an hour and 45. I'm like, man, I can get home in that time, you know. It's tough. I bought one of those instant hot water heaters to take a shower outside. I've never used it. Like you said, it's one of those things where it's like you got to set it up, man. I don't know. Shower is my crutch too, dude. It sucks.
The
Yeah.
the Planet Fitness was one that was to me too because I didn't there was a time where a Planet Fitness was a lot closer than Love's, just from a town that was nearby. You know what I mean? And at that town, and a lot of planning goes into this. Like Matt's always saying, like you need to be thinking about these things now. Like you need to
Mhm.
be calling places where you're gonna hunt, and like because you think like, oh, there's a truck stop. Well, no, but then I was like, oh, there's a Planet Fitness. So I'm getting a membership. You know what I mean? To be able to
Yeah.
just go in there because they have locker rooms and everything, shower. And then when I got done, I just slept in the parking lot because I was like, well, technically, if I'm a member now, if anybody says anything, I have a card and a membership to here. So, and then that ended up being like 50 minutes away, so it wasn't horrible, but the Loves was another 20 or 30 up the road. So that helped me out on one trip. So just a couple different, options to kind of keep in mind. But yeah, this draw big circles. Same way I do, when I'm looking at Onyx and I'm looking at every other thing, I'm looking at, campsites and Planet Fitness Loves, everything else around, trying to get this plan.
There's
Yeah. So
actually a coffee shop by one of the places I hunt that rents out showers for 25 bucks. I can't bring myself to shower at a coffee shop, man. I don't know. Something sketch about that to me.
so that's what I want to hit on that for a second because like this sounds like it is fun. It actually this is let's say that too. I actually think this is fun, huh? Or camping in the back of the trucks. Like it brings like an adventure piece to it. I have a riot with it, and it makes my hunting experience like more interesting, you know. But what you just said, Ryan, you were like, hey, I'm thinking about this stuff now, and I'll. So the point about that is, all right, so maybe you're not going to go and redo your truck, and we're going to talk about you don't actually have to do it with your truck because I did it for years without having a truck. There are other ways to fit your vehicle to do it, but that's like it sounds silly, but that's next level thinking, right? Like all of this, the truck, the thinking about where I'm going to get a shower and all that stuff, that's all done so we can stay focused on what we're there to do. And that's to kill bucks, and hunt. And so if you haven't found that success yet that you want, it's actually getting creative with your thinking like this. And I think when we start thinking like this way, like the truck opened up like creativity in my mind for other things too. Like as you start to problem solve these things, like how do I stay at the hunting area longer? How can I be able to move when I need to move? It all is about trying to like achieve our goals. And it brings your thinking past just the I'm gonna go out of state, find a piece of land, do a little bit of scouting, and try to get a buck. Yeah, yeah, you'll be somewhat successful like that. But the more you encompass like this type of creative thinking about how to be most efficient, with my travel, being able to sleep wherever I can sleep so that I can kill what I want to kill, you're going to be more successful. Like, it's hard to articulate what I'm trying to say there, but like, if you're not thinking this way, then you're not probably going to kill bucks like these guys kill bucks if you're hunting public land. It takes this creative thinking to get it done. Does that make sense?
But yeah, for sure. And
So,
one thing that Josh was talking about, and when he said he's about an hour 45, from his home, and I don't have any kids, and so that allows me to have that 8-hour drive, right, where I
mhm,
can just take out on the weekend and go 4 or 5 times to scouting. If when that day comes, or if that day comes, um, it may bring me back to South Carolina, right? But
mhm.
then what am I doing there? I'm doing the same thing. There's places that are better to hunt than right next door. They may be an hour 45 away. Well, then that may be just, hey, I get off on Friday. I'm not burning any time on work. I'm driving there. That gets me there, and I'm getting able to hunt all day Saturday and then Sunday, and then I'm coming back home. Now I got a 2-day hunt. That truck just made that a lot easier than it
Mhm.
would have, just trying to set everything up tents. Because I have friends that do the tents and local in South Carolina,
Mhm.
and 2 or 3 times they're burnt out because they're
Yeah.
loading all that up. You know what I mean? And dragging it out and tables and just just carrying a bunch of stuff with them, just like you said, wears you down. So even if you're listening and you're like, hey, I'm not driving 15 hours, so I don't need to do that. But look at the public land in your state. If and if something's just 2 hours down the road that's going to put you in a lot better spot to kill a deer, these kind of setups is, in my opinion, what's going to get you there.
Oh yeah, for sure. You could sleep in longer. You know what I mean? Like if I'm gonna go hunt, if I know I'm gonna go hunt somewhere 2 hours away from the house, I'm gonna go the night before and get over there so I can sleep in a little bit more and I'm gonna have more energy. Like it's all these little things, these little benefits that we're constantly trying to squeeze out, with this type of thinking is like, how do I make myself better for the hunt, you know? So when I sleep, I always go to a campground. Now I'm gonna get really vulnerable with you guys here, and I'm man enough to do this, all right?
Can't
I'm
wait for
man,
this one.
I'm man enough to tell you that, man, I get freaked out at night sleeping in the back of my truck. No lie. It doesn't help that I'm listening to like murder mystery podcasts all the way to the campsite. And I'll roll into some of these campsites, man. It's late November, sometimes December, and I roll in and there is nobody around. Man, I don't like that feeling at all. The other thing I don't like is when there's just one camper around, because then I'm looking at that person like, all right, man, I'm pretty nuts with what I'm doing. Like, but what kind of crazy are you? Like, why are you out here? When I come in and there's like 3 or 4 trailers, then I'm a lot more like relaxed and more comfortable. But the thought of like pulling over into like the side of the road or some back lot somewhere in the woods, dude, I couldn't do it, man. I just can't do it. I don't know what it is, but I like that comfort of a campground, dude.
But have you ever had something actually happen?
Yeah, no, not probably not, but well, yeah, I did. So, but when I was younger, I was traveling up to the UP and I pulled in some federal land and nothing happened to me, but like these guys came in on like the trucks and they're like doing donuts around me and kicking up dust and they're all like, and I mean it didn't make me feel great, so I always worry about that kind of stuff, but it's probably the murder mystery stuff that gives me a problem, man. I don't know.
Dude, I'll tell you a couple years ago. It was when I still had my camper. I was laying in bed at night and I was just starting to doze off, so I wasn't fully asleep, but something ran into the side of the camper and like it shook the whole thing. And it freaked me out. I jumped up, I grabbed my shotgun, man, and I came out of the camper and I was in a state park campground. So like here I am in the state park campground with my shotgun outside the camper and like looking around, it's pitch black, I couldn't no explanation as what the hell ran into the side of the camper. I thought maybe a stick fell, freaked me out. I never could figure it out. But in the morning, I drove around and I looked to see who else was there, just like you were talking about. And there
Yeah.
was a guy with like a creepy camper van there. It was like a cargo express van. And I was like, it was probably him, man. The weird guy.
And I've been doing this for years, man. I've been I mean before I had the truck and before I had the pop-ups, I had a Jeep Cherokee that I you know made a bed in the back and slept in the back of that thing and I'm trying to think other times that I've done it. I mean, I've done it the really hard way and I don't think that's actually beneficial where I've jumped in the back and tried to sleep in the back seat and stuff like that. Like I mean, if you're doing a 1 dayer, or like a little 2 dayer trip, but if you try to do that on a rut, like long haul, it's actually then it's just better to get a hotel. But comfort is important. So as we talk about comfort, some people would be like, man, I don't know if I could sleep in the back of my truck. Um, Obviously we have shelves. I should have said this right from the get-go. We have shelves on top of our trucks, and there are different levels to this game. There's the white belt sensei level in my truck. And then there's like this black belt ninja level that you guys are on. And we're gonna show all of our trucks so you know that there's an entry level like mine, super easy to set up and go, and it's comfortable. And then there's this like Taj Mahal like version that you guys have. But can you guys walk through your setups a little bit? Try to paint a picture of what it looks like inside of your guys' truck.
Man, I'll let Ryan go first. He's killing me over here. He's got me to shame.
The I just try to be neat with everything I do, and sometimes I take it too far, and it actually hurts me sometimes. But my wife does enjoy giving me a hard time on everything that I do. I overdo it, but yeah, basically just got an ARE truck cap. It's carpet lined. It has just a bed rug in the bottom to have the bottom carpet and a layer of insulation. I framed out a bed. If you can just picture like a bed framed out in 2x4s, held together with some wall coverings I got from Lowe's. You get like a 4x8 sheet of wall paneling. Trimmed it out with some aluminum. Added a 12-volt battery, a fuse box, rocker panel, switch from Amazon, a shunt readout gauge, a space heater and the 12-volt fridge, and then my charger for the 12-volt battery. I have a port drilled on the side of my truck cap, and it's just a male plug where you get to the campsite, you can plug it up. Coming out of there, it's split into two. One goes straight to my charger, and the other one goes to my heater. So as soon as I plug up, the charger turns on, and then the heater turns on. Everything else is ran off the battery. So the fridge, the lights, the exhaust fan, and all my chargers are ran off the battery. That way, when I unplug, I'm just missing my heater.
Hmm.
So I can get in, you'll have to read on your amps and what it draws and everything you add to it, it'll draw a little bit more. And you can kind of get technical with that, but just kind of ballparking it in the wintertime, if I'm running my fridge. I can almost go 4 days on a 100 amp hour battery. During the summertime, it's like a day and a half with that fridge running. If I do not run the fridge, I can almost go 5, 6, 7 days on because all you're doing is turning on an LED light to get in, and you're charging your phone, headlamps, and my battery banks. Nothing else is drawing much power. The heater, they're gonna suck it down. I didn't even try to wire my heater up to the battery because I done some math beforehand and was like, this is it's not going to be worth it on what it's going to draw. I'm going to have too much battery. So if I ever get in a situation, and I'll plan this out beforehand, so it don't blindside me. But if I get in a situation and I find a deer that I'm going to want to hunt and there's nothing around, I'll just throw the generator on the back rack of my truck, and then that evening I'll let it charge and then turn it off during the day. So it's just kind of simply breaking mine down.
Yeah, nothing simple about that, dude. So, but and then your bed setup is like you've built in a bed frame and all a lot of that stuff's inside of there, right? Like your refrigerator's underneath your mattress
Yep,
and all
yep,
your
yep.
electricals underneath there.
Yeah, like you said, we're gonna do some videos
Yeah.
and they can look in, but um put together every component and then build it out is what I would suggest because that's what I did and it worked out good. I measured the length of my space heater 17 inches. My refrigerator is 18 inches tall. I built my bed 18 and a half inches tall because I wanted it to be tall enough to hang my space heater on the side of, and I wanted my refrigerator to go up underneath it. So I had everything kind of planned out before I even went to Lowe's and started buying lumber and stuff like this. I knew I mean, I'm gonna tell myself now, but I actually drew it up in CAM and had all the hinges and everything in there in CAM, so I could see how it all would work before I even bought the wood. But you definitely don't have to do all that, but just plan it out. You know what I mean before you start throwing stuff together. Because if I hadn't, and then I get the fridge and I'm like, oh man, if it was just an inch taller, this would have went under here. And that would have kind of been a big deal. But the mattress. I think I saw Josh had the same thing. Mine's a mattress firm. It's like a cot. It's like a 4 inch memory
Hmm.
foam. It's like a trifold cot, and I sleep very good on that. I am not a light sleeper. I'm a heavy sleeper. Somebody probably could wee in my living room in the middle of the night before I would wake up. But once I get in that thing and get in a good sleeping bag, I'm out. I sleep good. I sleep fine.
Yeah. How about you, Josh?
Um, Man, well, I'm actually on phase two of my truck journey. So the first thing I did Everything for me has always had to kind of be removable, in case I got to use my truck as a truck, you know. So the first thing I ever did was when I took the measurements of the bed, I found out that a Cabela's cot would work in there. So the first thing I ever did was just put outdoor carpet in the bottom of it, and then put a cot in there and a good sleeping bag, and that was the first thing I ever did. And I took 2 seasons like that, I think. Um, and then once I realized like this is something that I'm probably gonna stick with, and this thing's probably never gonna come off again, um, I did the full deal. So it's very similar to Ryan's. Decorative panel on the outside. Everything is 2x2 framed, 3/4 inch plywood on top. Um, I think we do a very similar mattress, 4-inch memory foam trifold. Mine is made by Milliard. It's an Amazon mattress. Um, I don't run a 12-volt fridge or anything like that. I just run a simple cooler. Uh, Pretty much all the parts that I use in mine are off Amazon. One thing I'm going to start playing around with is a diesel heater, which when I did my bed, you know, he was talking about the plugs. I'm assuming you're talking about like a no-co plug.
That's
Is that
right.
what
That's
you ran?
right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So I have one actually built into the bed frame, into the panel. So I just run a cord through. I didn't put a hole in the camper. I just pull a cord through. And then that powers a power strip. Well, because I kind of wanted everything to just rip out as soon as possible, I bought a removable power station. Like I run an EcoFlow River 2. So that pretty much keeps me uh, I mean, I've done 5 days in there. I've done 10 days in there, no problem, with just batteries and everything like that. Thing is about that is power to cost ratio goes way up. You start losing power per dollar. So like if you would go with a 12-volt lithium battery or something like that, it'd be a lot cheaper to get more amp than running an inverter power station. But I can also, like when I plug in, I can just recharge my inverter power station in an hour and a half. I think it's 800 watts or 768, I think is the exact number. But that whole power station, it's got, I think, two USB-C ports. It's got four 120 plugs. It has regular USB plugs. And the way I have everything wired, all the LED lighting, which barely pull any amp draw. Um, I have I actually have computer fans built into the bed as well to give me airflow like during the summer. Barely ever use them, but it is nice to have some airflow when it's warm outside. Um, and then just a switch for all the lights, just a regular marine. I think it's got like 5 switches on it, just a switch panel. And all that's wired into a fuse block, marine fuse block off Amazon. You know, I think it was like $12. And then on the end of that, I just have it wired into a cigarette plug. So the cigarette plug plugs right into the power station, and then that just powers everything. And I can pull it out. I can take it camping. You know, I can do whatever if I'm doing a tent or, you know, whatever we're doing. But it's very basic. Most of the stuff for builds like this are just Amazon parts and Home Depot lumber is pretty much all I've ever done. If I was gonna do something really simple, like if somebody was just wetting their feet, that first thing I had with the cot and the outdoor carpet, man, that worked great. I actually had a 12-volt trolling motor box just for a rig. I was taking my boat battery out of my boat, putting it in that trolling motor box, and that thing had, I think, two USB ports on it, battery meter. It was like $50. Like that was great for first time I went out. I think that was my vacation. It was like 7 or 8 days on a regular 12-volt battery. It worked great, and you know it was cost effective.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think so mine's like a much more simple like setup. I've got so I actually bought $100 top that doesn't fit my truck.
Hey,
So
mine's a marketplace special too, man.
yeah, like
Mine is too.
so you don't have to spend a lot of money on getting a topper on top of it. Mine's off a little bit. I had to get really creative with the back window, but I actually love the way that it actually works out better, I think, for me. But so it's a little short, still got it on there. It's not carpeted, but my floor is. I forgot where I got it. It's like this 2-inch pad that is cut out for my truck specifically, and it's a carpeted pad, and like so I can crawl on my knees, and it feels just fine. I could sleep on it, tell you the truth, and it would be really comfortable. And then I just had some spare wood. I had some plywood and some 2x4s, and I just built a quick little platform to hold. I did the main thing I really invested in and looked into was a mattress because I'm an old man. I can't lay on those 4-inch pads. I'd be dead the next day. So I went out and I got it's called a, narrow twin, which is a cot size mattress, and it's got a pillow top, memory foam with spring support. I mean, this thing is like it's like real nice, man. And so that's my bed. And and then I drilled a hole in the side of the topper on the wrong side. So I've always got to run the stupid cord underneath my truck to plug it in. Because I'm not methodical like you guys are on this stuff. I mean, I put this all together like a day, like I'm just throwing this stuff in there. And I did a little bit of research on it on the mattress, of course. But so I plugged that in. And then on the inside, I've got a strip, like a power strip, and I'll use that for whatever I'm charging. And I've got a little plastic 3 drawer, like little dresser drawer thing I got at Target for like $20. And I put my clothes in there and whatever else I want to put in there. And then I got these sticky LED lights that I just stuck up in different spots. That you just touch and they light up and they just take like a AAA, and I've never had to replace the batteries, and I've been running it that way for two seasons now. So, and I still haven't changed the batteries. And then for a little bit of power backup, just because there are a couple times I don't always sleep in a campground. Um, I went to what's that, Harbor Freight, and I picked up one of those battery like jumper cable things for your car, and it also has like an air compressor on it for your tires, but it has USB ports and you can charge it up. And I'll use that to charge my phone and stuff like that when I don't have any power. Sometimes I stay at campgrounds that don't have power, and I have slept inside, like Buc-ee's and stuff like that too. Um, and that's it for me. Like it's super simple. And
Nah, man, you're playing it down. I went camping with Matt, and he pulled like a full solo stove out of the back of his truck and everything.
you know where I got that stuff though. That's all stuff from the camper, man. So like, yeah, if I want to do it big, I can do it big if I want to, but that's funny. Yeah. So and it's man, I love it, dude. Like I get in there and I'm super comfy, and I watch movies at night and stuff like that and just kind of relax back there. What are you guys doing for your windows? You
Nothing,
got nothing, dude. You're nuts,
nothing.
man.
I got to be able to see out of my windows at night, like you said, like get freaked out in the middle of the night. Man, if I hear something, I got to be able to like pop up and look out the window. I can't like just sit in there in the darkness and just lay still.
You didn't learn from when you were a kid that all you had to do was put the covers over your head and the monster can't get
Yeah,
you?
no, no, no. It's I sleep with one of those like mummy sleeping bags, and that's like one of my biggest fears is like if somebody tries to rip the topper open or something, I'm not gonna be able to get out of it fast enough.
Oh, I sleep with a hatchet next to my bed. No lie. Like
Dude, I sleep with my pistol inside the mummy.
well, I do when I'm in states that I can carry my pistol, I do, but
Yeah, Illinois
unfortunately
is tough, isn't it?
Illinois doesn't allow you to do that. So
Yeah.
I have to carry a little axe. I'm like, how would you rather have me defend myself, like with a clean shot or just me hacking this guy? Like, but
Yeah,
I
they're
cover.
cleaning it up, not you.
Yeah, I know. So I do cover up my windows. I've got like a reflective insulation that I cut out for my windows, and then I put some Velcro sticky, double-sided sticky, and then put it on my window so I can just tear it off with the Velcro and put it on. And sometimes the sticky actually lasted a really long time, and then it started to come off. So I just carry an extra roll in there. So anytime like a little corner kind of wears out, I just cut another piece, put it up there, and I'm good. And that helps keep me warm too. And um, heat. I didn't mention that in the last one. I'm running like for heat, I'm using an electric heater anytime I like most times because you don't have to worry about CO2 poisoning or anything like that. When I don't have electric, then I'm running like a Mr. Buddy that has one of those built-in like CO2, like it'll shut off on you. But I'm also running a CO2 sensor in there. And CO2, is that the right word? Carbon monoxide, is that
Carbon
CO2?
monoxide detector. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
carbon
yeah.
monoxide. Yep. So that's what I'm running for a little bit of safety there. How about you, Ryan? Do you got anything on the windows?
Yeah, so I went to not Harbor Freight, Hobby Lobby. So I just went to the fabric section and just kept walking until I found something that matched the carpet of my truck. Once I did that, I cut out a big. It's funny because I did all of this work and I had a lot of math that went into it and everything was perfect. And the worst experience I personally had was trying to figure out how to run a sewing machine because I had never sewn anything before in my life. And so all I had was fabric and I got a bunch of Velcro and I cut out like 1.5 or 2 inch pieces of Velcro and then was going to go around the perimeter of the fabric that I cut out the same size as the windows. And it works really good. And I'm really happy the way it turned out. In fact, if you just kind of glance, it just looks like it doesn't even have any windows. It looks like everything's just carpeted.
Yep.
But I took that sewing machine into 1,000 pieces. One, because I didn't understand how it worked, and then two, I just the whole bottom just it was a learning experience, but I got through it. And so if you already know how to sew, man, that's like a 20 or 30 minute project if you just pick you up some fabric and have it done.
I love that image in my head. It's like this straight stone cold killer, like he's got all these big bucks in the background, and we're talking about like tactics all the time and getting at it and scouting 100 miles. And here you are, just like trying to get that
So
one.
yeah.
Dang it, I can't get this, like
Oh, if it
so
wasn't
it.
my mother's sewing machine, it wouldn't have made it because it would have took a few bounces in the yard.
Oh, that's great, man. That's so awesome. So, yeah, so to me, like this whole thing really encompasses a mindset. And I think what I've discovered now with the dojo is that a lot of people want to hear tactics and stuff like that. And I really think success is all, I mean, tactics, you definitely have to learn tactics and all of that good stuff. But I think it's all really mindset and the mindset of like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to reach my goal, in this. And that's what the trucks do for us. And, um, I don't know. For me, it gives me a little bit more, like I said, it feels like more like an adventure. It feels more, I feel more, this is gonna sound silly, man, but I feel more like a badass, dude, when I got my truck. I do. Like it plays into my like I'm pumped, dude. When I hit that road and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna hunt, dude, and I know that I can go anywhere, do anything I want with that truck for whatever dumb reason, it builds up my confidence. And I just love it, man. And I love pulling into places where I see everybody else like struggling. When I pull into like a campground, there's other hunters there and they're struggling with all their stuff. And I'm just clean, efficient, in and out, and I'm moving, nothing's slowing me down. And all I'm thinking about is hunting, dude. It builds up my confidence. And I seriously, I feel like a badass hunter, man. I know it sounds silly, but it helps me.
Yeah, like you were saying, efficiency is really the ticket there, and also time management. For me, I'm driving almost 8 hours one way, right? So while I'm sitting at work trying to plan this trip in my head and I'm looking at Onyx and everything, getting everything squared away, I have to make the most out of that time,
Hmm.
because yeah, I've been in my career for a good while and I'm able to have a month of vacation and they allow me to just take it all at once. But, I still work 11 months for that 1 month.
Hmm.
I have to give them something to just get those 4 weeks and I want to use that most efficient way possible. So if I can get everything done at home, that when I get there, the only thing on my mind is whitetails, then I'm already way ahead of the game, in my opinion. Just like you said, like even when I'm pulling up, when I can make the trip in one shot now, um, and make it in one shot, pull over, I'm going straight to bed in 20 minutes.
Yep.
As soon as I get out of my truck, I'm sleeping in 20 minutes. I don't have to set anything up. I don't have to check this. I don't have to back it in 3 or 4 times. Like it's just, and everything's there. Everything's like you want it. Everything's organized. And it just works, man. It works really good. And I don't know. It gives me confidence. I see what you're talking about on that end of it. It's when you're driving down the road, it's that one less thing to worry about in the back of
Yeah.
your head. You have that confidence. You're building it up the same way you would be sitting in a spot where you know you have a bunch of good pictures of, a good deer, right? You have confidence. So like when I'm going there, I'm not, I have more confidence. I don't have to worry about a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Man, I want to add one thing. Like, you're talking about confidence and, it really does build confidence because it helps you feel dedicated, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, um, you pull up the spot sometimes, and you're so far away from home. And I know 2 hours doesn't seem like a lot to a lot of people, but if you got to get up at 4 a.m. to be in the woods by 6 a.m., that takes a lot out of you just to come home the same night and this, that, and the other. And then only to get there, right? And there's 6 cars in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can pull an audible and go to the next spot, get up early, and I can pull an audible like that, and I'm not tied down to a camper that's stuck here, that's huge. I can't tell you how many times last year I just pulled an audible and went to a new property.
Yeah.
And that's one thing me and Matt were talking about is, a lot of these areas I hunt are like micro bedding areas because this piece only has so many little good parts to it that when they get swamped out, they're done. So I'm on a different piece. And if I pull up and I see that area is swamped out with hunters, I'm jumping ship and I'm going because I'm confident that I've done my scouting
Yeah.
and I can pick up and move at the drop of a dime. I can just go. So that's where confidence comes into me is like I can go to the next piece that may be 2 hours away, maybe an hour and a half away, whatever. I can just go throw my hat in that spot, and take off. That's why I'm confident I'm going to get it done because I can go wherever I want.
Yeah.
Never tied down.
Yep. I know. I think I'm glad you said that because how do I say this without it like, I guess I really don't care if it sounds offensive or whatever. Part of what we do is this is unfortunate when you hunt public land, it is a competition with other hunters.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're outworking them. And that's one thing. Like I don't think I'm all that smart when it comes to like, actual tactics or like deer, behavior, all that kind of stuff. Like I wouldn't put like there's a million other guys out there in the woods who know more than me and understand that better than me. But I think where my success comes from is that I can outwork them. I can outwork them, and I'm going to do that year round. Every single day, I'm going to think about this stuff. I'm planning, and the truck. I mean, serious talk. That's what it's about. It's about giving me the advantage over, and it may sound silly that I'm getting the advantage over the guy who's got a trailer, but I'm telling you, it's a real advantage. It's a real advantage when, like we said earlier, there's nothing else. I don't have to do a whole lot of stuff. I can just sit and go, hey, I got time. I'm jumping in my truck and I'm gonna go scouting. And now I'm scouting more than the next guy. Um, and it is like those fine details and the willingness to do the work because the truck is still work, planning all that stuff out and doing that has helped me become successful. I mean, I've bounced. I can contribute at least $2 on my wall to the fact that I was able to move quickly to other counties, multiple counties. One of those bucks I took on the day 10, and I had covered half the state because it was just easy for me to do that. And so it really is about if you don't have a truck and you're not going to do this, this is what I hope you guys pick up from this. It's the mindset of outworking and doing whatever it takes and thinking about whatever detail, whatever advantage you can get, and then doing it, creating whatever that is. It might not be trucks for you. It might be some other kind of system. It may be some other thing, but you need to find it and do it to get that advantage if you're gonna be on public land and actually have consistency with this thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's funny you say that because I see a lot of people as a new public land hunter going into my fifth season. Um, I see a lot of people griping about online, about this guy did this or this guy did that, but honestly, it's been I've had a little bit of confidence because of the same thing because I know that I'm going to outwork you. Like if
Hmm.
I pull up in a parking lot, and I see somebody and I know there's a good buck in the area. Normally they're gone in 3 days. Normally, sometimes they stick it out, but are you there for that fifth day, the sixth
Hmm.
day, the seventh day? Um, are you hiking in, that mile? Are you doing it every morning? Are you going to slip and like, oh, I'm going to take a rest this morning? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So, um, doing as much work as I can now is the time management for me. That way, when I get there, I do have that rest. I do have that sleep. I have everything I need to put the extra work in when I get there and it's game time.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. And it goes back to what I was saying on the last Do This Now podcast about gear. It's like we're doing all this work now so you don't have to think about it because it takes energy. And I really think when you're going after these whitetails on public land, it is a mental grind. The physical grind is easy, man. You can just push through pain. You can push through being tired. Almost anybody can do that, but it's that mental piece and having enough mental energy by keeping your system super neat, organized, to simplify to where you don't have to think about them. And the same thing with your truck and being able to move and all that. Like I just never ever think about it. When hunting time comes, I never think about I'm stuck here or in my truck or I got to set this up when I get back. It's just super easy, takes zero energy, and I'm staying focused on the whitetails and the strategy that I need to employ the whole time, you know?
Um,
Yeah.
let me ask, I want to see on y'all's takes. Do you keep everything as far as like clothing and stuff in the bed of your truck, or do you kind of move that stuff around?
My clothing stays in the back seat.
Okay, yeah, same.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. My
Um,
bow and my clothing stay in the back seat.
mine stays in the truck in that three drawer dresser. I've got everything organized in that there. And then I've got like a little hamper where I put my dirties, because I want to keep everything out of the way. And in the cab of my truck, that's where I keep my bow and all my other gear. And I keep that set up so, I'm grabbing everything and putting it back in the back of the bed of the cab of the truck the same way. And so I don't want my clothes interfering with that. I don't want to be fighting through that in the morning when it's dark and stuff like that. So plus I love just getting dressed where it's warm. Like I lean over, turn on that heater, grab the stuff out of there, put it on, and then I'm gone.
Dude, I'll be
yeah, so
completely honest with you though. Like the longer I do this, the less stuff I take, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times if I'm going for 2, 3 days, I'll get there and I'll change into my hunting clothes. Like say I leave from work on a Friday after work. I'll get there, I'll change into my hunting clothes, I'll sleep in them.
Yeah.
And I'll get up in the morning and I'll take off. And the most I'll stop for is a coffee or, get up and make a pot of coffee or something. That's the most I'll do. I'll sleep in my hunting clothes, I'll get up and I'll go right out.
yeah, I take less and less stuff too, and mine last year was the cooking. I'm not a cook. I found out I don't even enjoy cooking. And it was a big hassle, man. I had like the Coleman grill and the burners, and I was like, I'm gonna hit this stop, and I'm gonna get enough food for like 4 or 5 days, and I'm gonna come back from hunting, and the first night I did it, and the wind's blowing, it's cold, you're trying to set these little things up to keep the flame going, and I'm just getting ill. And I was the same thing. I'm like, I eat 11 months out of the year. Like I eat good during that time. This is not what I need to be efficient right now. It's going back to stuff like the ramen, the peanut butter sandwiches, stuff where I do not have to heat up. I'm not taking all of that. I eliminated a whole tote of stuff as far as like cooking utensils and stuff like that. I just want something simple now. Like I even can throw some potted meat, some stuff like that, some canned goods. And main thing, if I don't have to cook it or heat it up too much, other than just like a little jet bowl, in the cab, because that's nice. You're talking about the adventure part of it and stuff, and I did enjoy that part. You get a nice shower, you get in there, and your truck cap's warm and everything. You're just heating up, your bowl of ramen and stuff, and did that. But yeah, every bit of that was gone. But I ended up taking a bag and keeping all my base layers and what I would call like street clothes, as far as like jogging pants and like sweatshirts and stuff like that, keeping every bit of that under my bed. And then when I would wake up, I would put my base layers on that I was going to wear, and then put on my Crocs, and then get out, walk around to the passenger side of my truck. On the passenger side of my truck, I would open it up and I would have a huge, it's like a waterproof bag. I don't even remember what company I got it from, but it has every bit of my hunting clothes in there. And I would open up the top of it, put on my bibs and my jacket, close it back up, walk around to the other side. When I open that door, the bow is hanging on my back seat or it's in the case, depending on what state I'm in. And then my stand is sitting right there facing me too. So I take the
Yeah.
back seats and I set them up. And so basically one side is gear, boots and stuff like that. And the other is my stand, my bow and everything like that. So that ended up being a little bit better for me because the first year I put everything inside, and it is, I mean, we're not big guys, but if you were like a big guy, it's hard to put on some heavy duty bibs in the back of that truck. You know, you can stretch it out and you can get it done, but for me, it was just easy to put the warm base layers on and everything, and then throw my final layers on.
Man, that is the exact way that I have my truck set up, like to a T. Like you said, on the passenger side, you got your duffel bag. On the right side, you got your seat folded up with the bow hanging. Mine's the exact same way. I got a couple
Nice.
HDX hangers that are just hanging there with my bow on it. It's in there right now. It's the same exact way I set my truck up. The only thing I do in the morning is I'll take my laptop, obviously, like I'll pull my laptop out of the back of the truck if I'm watching movies, and I'll pull my power station and
Mhm.
lock that in the truck too. But exact same way I set my truck up.
Yeah, I use the jet boil for food. And what is that amazing food that I can't even think of it right now. The
Peak
dry. Yeah,
peak
man.
refuel
Dude, I'll eat that stuff at home sometimes. Like, I'll be
stuff
like,
is great, man.
yes,
What
that's
what is it called?
Peak refuel.
Okay,
It's almost
I'll
like a
have to look
mountain
it up.
house, but it's
Okay,
but man, their meals are just so much better. Like they just
okay.
taste so much better.
my
And
my
they
wife
actually
won't
have like double the calories too to fill you up way faster.
my
Okay.
wife won't be mad at me for saying this, but it's better than her cooking. It really is. Like it's the bomb. I will literally eat it here, man. Like I love that. And so I'm heading out to Illinois this weekend. And I just went and picked up a bunch of Peak Fuel. I mean, they're Berry Mountain granola, dude.
Killer. For breakfast, it's killer,
Oh,
dude.
for
Yeah.
anything, man, I could
Yeah.
eat that all day long. That is so
Yeah.
good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, real good. I mean, they're
Their
it's
Alfredo's pretty good too. I think it's the Alfredo. Yeah, it's pretty good. All their stuff is good, man. Mountain House is good, but Peak's got the edge by far.
like
That's a good recommendation because I'll check them out.
Oh, dude, all
restaurant
you need is
quality.
boiled water. Pour it in there, and you're living like a king, man.
Yeah. And I'll go if I'm gone hunting for a long time, I'll go to like Applebee's a couple times. Like I like to go hang out, talk to locals and just, chill out, have a beer, grab something a good hamburger or something like that. Kind of just like refuel, into something else for a little bit, refresh my mind a little bit, and then head back and jump in the back of the truck.
Do you do that, Ryan? Do you go out to like mingle with the locals when you're out of town?
No, I go out, but not mingle with the locals. I will,
Okay.
when I mean going out, it's finding the shower and then hitting the drive-through. So
Okay.
I'm hitting a Burger King, I'm hitting a McDonald's, I'm hitting something like that, and then I'm going back straight back to the campground. But yeah, I was looking at it when I had all that cooking stuff set up, and I'm looking at every bit of this, and I was like, man, for $4 at McDonald's right now is all I need. And like it's hard to beat that, even when I'm carrying these green canisters around full of propane and I'm trying to set all this up, I'm like, man, throw $10, $15 a week in my drawer, right, throughout the whole year. And then when the hunting season gets there, I'm grabbing that little bit of money and I'm like, I'm gonna eat and take a shower and just small stuff like that. And I have a crazy sweet tooth. My best friend growing up, like everywhere we went, man, he had to have a chili cheeseburger like all the time. I'm almost the type of person that like during lunch. a Red Bull and a king size pack of Reese cup, I'd rather have it than a cheeseburger, you know, like now the Slim Jims, the Cliff Bars, and a peanut butter sandwich normally comes with me during the day. You know, I'm packing that, and that's what I'm going to eat in the stand. It's just been my go-to. Just have water, some kind of little bar, and then my peanut butter sandwich. So I know that's what I'm going to eat. So it is kind of hard for me to eat the same thing in the evening over again because I know that's my designated lunch because that's the easiest thing for me to prepare. Um, so yeah, it's normally a Burger King or McDonald's in the evenings, but I'm not getting out of the truck. I'm normally like stripped down to my base layers at this point and not fit for public.
You see, I carry one of those MSR, I think it's called a Pocket Rocket 2 little
Yeah, I
mini
got one.
stove. Man, I love that thing because I could throw it in my bag, and I actually take ramen noodles and I'll put them in a Ziploc rather than
Yeah.
rather than leave them in the packaging. Put them in a Ziploc. It's a little bit quieter, and they just kind of package better. I could break them, fold them a little bit, and dude, I'll carry that with me in the woods sometimes. Rarely ever do I need to, but if I need to, I'll pull it out. It's in the bottom of my bag. Um, but there is like no fast food within, I think, less than a half hour of any of the places I hunt. And, I'm up there pretty frequently. I know all the food. So there's a couple smaller bars. There's quite a few smaller, like hole in the wall bars. And man, I've met like some great people and like some great hunters just talking because they recognize you as soon as you walk in, like, oh, you're not from here. What are you doing up here? It's like, well, I'm hunting. And it's so funny because all these times, you're like, I'm sleeping in my truck, and they're like, man, just come crash at my house. Don't worry about it. I got power. And you're like, no, 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 I'm totally comfortable. This is
Yeah.
great. It's part of the
Now
adventure.
on the uh on the success. So like last year, last year was an adventure for me. It was a specific year for me to say, look, I'm going to this state. I'm going to hunt till I kill a deer. Then I'm packing up and I'm move it. And I'm going to be honest, I did lower my standard a little bit on a deer just because I was trying to. I honestly wanted to kill four different bucks in four different states, and
Mhm.
I had an opportunity at three, come home with two out of four. But if it went well that night. Yeah, I'm going. I'm going back. I'm showering. I'm getting the deer taken care of. I'm getting them put on ice. I'm getting them caked out or whatever I have to do. And then I'm gonna go shower and then I will have like jeans and a couple shirts that I'll carry. And normally going out for me is like a big steakhouse or a barbecue
Yeah.
joint where they
Yeah.
have like there's like a couple barbecue places where they'll have a bar inside, right? And the same thing, I'll go up there and just kind of just hang out and unwind and be able to watch the TV and have conversation with somebody because
Hmm.
that was, I mean, I'm only 30, but I got to thinking about it. I was on the phone with my wife and I was like, 36 days in the back of this truck. I was like, that at one point it was like this is like the longest I've gone without like human interaction in a long time, and like I was ready to just like stop somebody at the gas station and be like, hey man, what's up? How you doing? Like just like start a random conversation with somebody just to, have that camaraderie. But yeah, I'll do that before I roll out. So like I hit it in Kentucky and then, a couple of different spots where I had success. I'm going somewhere that night and kind of celebrate myself.
I yeah, for human interaction, this is gonna sound crazy. I don't even know why I'm saying this on the podcast. I hang out with old people. So like I go to Applebee's and I'll end up hanging out with like the two oldest people in like I'm talking like, 70 years old. And it started happening so often that I started taking selfies with them. So I got like all this, and I'll send my wife these selfies of me hanging out with these old people talking, like it's a lot of fun, and it's trustworthy people, they're not going to do anything to harm you or anything like that. So we just kick back, talk about whatever's going on in that town and, just kick it. So that's what,
Brian,
Yeah.
man, me and Matt went to this bar in Indiana,
do I have
and
to
we
edit
walked
this
in.
out?
Like, no, 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 it's good. We're like, where are we right now? Like, this guy's like vaping at the bar, and like, it's totally, it was, they were watching like WrestleMania on the TV. It was a wild place. So, like, we're sitting there and, like, can I get a menu? So they hand us a menu. And she goes, our prices have changed a little bit over the years. So like I opened up the menu and it was like cheeseburger, $3.50. And it was like the menu was from like 1985.
Oh my God.
Dude, it was crazy. It was all that
It,
adds to it though.
it
Oh,
does.
it for sure does. And like you said, man, the adventure part, it's a lot of it, like I spent 11 months right here, not going anywhere, not doing anything, just spending time with family and this kind of stuff. And I said this a while back when the first year I did it, and it's when I got hooked, was because a vacation normally consisted of me loading my wife up in a car, packing everything up, driving as fast as I could to Gatlinburg, getting there, unloading everything, running to a steakhouse, eating, coming back home, sleeping, going out. We're gonna do this shop today, this shop today, this shop today. And honestly, when I came home, I was like a whirlwind, almost like it was like almost somebody like kidnapped me, put a sack over my head, took me out, and took $2,400 out of my checking account. You know what I mean? It was like dropped me back off at home, and I was like, man, this is like, and it sounds so simple-minded, but the first year I let down that tailgate and I just got a small campfire around, and there's nothing, and it's silent. I was like, this is the break I needed from the world. You know what I mean? Like this is a vacation. Um, this was something that I needed, for myself, as far as the adventure part of it and just the peace and the quiet and not getting back to our roots a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, we used to have to do that a lot more. And yeah, you were talking about, just running into this and doing that, same thing. You know, um I shot a buck in Illinois last year and I just typed in food in my GPS and just went straight to and I almost left because the town was so small. It
Mhm.
was literally like when you walk in, everybody's looking at you like, what are you doing there? And I sat down. It was one of the best meals I've had
Mhm.
in a long time. Just some good food. I had a cowboy cheeseburger with onion rings and barbecue sauce all over it. And it was funny because the lady was like, "You're not from around here, are you?" And I was like, "Nah." I was like, "I'm from South Carolina." She was like, "What are you doing all the way up here?" I was like, I'm trying to look for some big deer. I got one. And she was like, well, you're not leaving to eat my pecan pie. She said, it's almost done. And she come around the corner and dropped it off. And then the waitress come around and was like, would you like any dessert? And she looked down. She was like, oh, you already had some. And I was like, yeah, that lady back there gave it to me. And she's just around the corner. The best pecan pie. I was Snapchatting my wife. That's my wife's favorite dessert. She was jealous, and I'm like, man, that's the best pecan pie I've ever put in my mouth, And it's just like that's something that's a memory, that just wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have done this, wasn't going on the road hunting and trying new places out. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, if you were in the camper with the microwave, you never would have had that experience.
No,
Yep.
no, not hardly. And we're all praying. I know we are. I know we're all praying that we're gonna see that guy at the bar. It's like, man, I got 300 acres. Ain't nobody hunted in a long time. Why don't you come over and start hunting for me? You know what I mean? Like,
Man, it hasn't
uh,
happened to me yet, I'll tell you
it
that.
Nope.
ain't it ain't me either. But I have some friends and it did. It did a while back. I got friends at the local archery shop. I see them down there. When I shoot the bows and stuff like that. And they met a farmer in Kansas 8 years ago and they just keep going back and every single year and they 1 out of 3 will have a good success every year and that was all from making a connection because they were camping one day a long time ago when they were younger and they were hunting public but saw deer on that farm and literally just pulled over and asked and it made a connection. The
Mhm.
only thing that I've had luck with so far on the road is um, meeting people that have farms that butt up to public, and
Mhm.
they are nice enough to say, "Man, there's some tough access." Um, and they'll let me park. They won't let me hunt their land, but they'll let me park on like the where the gate's at, stay out of the way, and then walk and access the public land. And that's been some tickets right there because you're coming in from complete opposite of 99% of the other people. And those are the only places that I've been like, okay, I need to really watch my wind. I need to really watch this because I feel so good going in there because I know nobody else has messed that
Hmm.
up, right? And I've also played it off on asking instead of saying, "Hey, man, um, access through your land to go hunting?" And they'll say no. I'll kind of say it. This might be like trying to like wordplay some people, but I'll say, look, man, I'm 8 hours away from home and I'm living out of this truck. Everything I have is inside of it. I'm parking on the side of the road. Do you mind if I just would park it right here, in your on your property? And I've had a lot of people say, yeah, man, that's fine. I'll look after it or so and so. And then once that starts, I'm like, hey, well, could I just scoot across your fence line right there and access the public from behind there? And sometimes it's no, but sometimes it's a yes. So all those
Yeah.
public interactions, man, it can build on something.
So I had a secret agenda with this podcast, and you hit on it. You talked about this adventure, right? And we've been talking about like meeting people and experiencing different things, and that's what my desire is for people who are listening to this, is that there is so much adventure out there. Like to me, yeah, I want to be successful deer hunting, I do. I mean, it's really important to me. But like Josh, when you and I went out to Indiana, man, it was like that was a grind. Dude, I had honestly, like, I had a ton of fun, dude. Like we're
Yeah.
driving, we're racing down the road. I mean, one time it was like so cold in the morning, like our antennas froze and they was snapped off, and like we're trying to go to different places, and there's like, a bunch of guys at this spot, so we're looking at the map and we're going to the next spot. It was living this adventurous life, and it's just like what you said, Ryan. Like it's just unplugging and going back to something that is more natural for us, right? Like the hustle and bustle of this life, um, is like it kind of kills us a little bit, like a little bit of your spirit dies the longer that you're in it. And what I see even with like hunting, and you're talking to like there's three guys who really try to be successful in what we do. And we want to go kill the biggest buck that we can kill. But the adventure side of it stops it from becoming too much like the world itself. Because if I just focus on, man, I just got to go and get this buck, I got to kill this buck, I got to get a big buck, and there's no adventure piece to it, then it actually feels more like a daily grind of like me working at my job. And what I discovered with this traveling and stuff like that is like, man, I go in these towns all across the United States, and it's like going back in time, man. I love it when I see like a 1980s Mountain Dew pop machine on the corner outside of a gas station. I'm like, I don't see that where I'm at anymore. You don't see none of that outside, And like these small towns and these people who honestly are just good people and welcoming and warm, and then beyond that too is just like, yeah, like sleeping in the back of the truck, going to different places, seeing everything. It's an adventurous life that everyone can have. That's my agenda. It's like I really want people who are listening to this to realize here is an adventure that it's not hard to do, and you can go live this, and you can experience this even if you do it on a smaller scale. You don't have to be as dedicated to as we are. Maybe you don't have the space in your life. Ryan, you were talking about that. Like we all have different stages in our life, but man, go find adventure for 2 3 days. Go find adventure for 2 weekends out of the hunting season, man. I'm gonna tell you what, it's gonna change. This is gonna sound crazy. It'll change your life. It'll actually change how you think about hunting, and it's a blessing on your life. There's my spiel on it, but that is the reason why I had you guys on, because I want them to get, to realize this is tangible. They can do it, and you can live this way. It's not that hard.
Um, if you don't mind, let me hit on something real quick I don't know if you can see. Can you see this Euro mount right here?
Yeah.
All right, so that was my buck last year in Illinois. And so I actually stayed at an outfitter and I called them and they let me stay in the bunkhouse. Okay.
Wow.
And I paid him some money and I was going about 45 minutes away to hunt public land. And I met some really cool people there. I mean, they're awesome dudes, man. We hung out, we had a good time, right? And But when I went to go kill this deer, I went and it was like everything could have went wrong, and it was to the point to where you're not mad anymore and you're just laughing at yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everything is just like almost at this time, it's like, wow, this cannot get any worse, right? And so I'm running into people that are like hunting where they're not supposed to be hunting. It was zoned. You had to go every morning. It was I drew a straight wall rifle, and it
Mm.
was a 3 day hunt on a very small piece of public land. And I'd never done that before, and I wanted to do that because I drove 15 hours to get there, and I'm like, let me get the rifle tag because that gives me an opportunity to do 2 hunts. Because if not, if I kill a deer with my bow, I'm done.
Hmm.
So I pulled that tag, and I'm going at this check-in station. I've never even been to this state before, this part of the area, and I'm meeting these people. And we're sitting in these camp chairs, first thing in the morning for like an hour and a half. Because the first morning we thought that it was going to be like first come, first serve, right? Because there's only 15 spots available. After that, they shut it down. Well, then we found out that they draw out of a hat every day. And so, like, well, there's no need on getting there an hour and a half early, you know what I mean? So we're all putting our names in there. And I was looking around, I'm like, all these are local. Maybe somebody will feel sorry for me and just, feel like I'm 15 hours away from home to come up here for a chance to even, get in the stand. And somebody was shooting a 30-06 like right beside my head. And it was a lady from Chicago. She had never even hunted before in her life. And I got down and was trying to explain to her, you're not even allowed to have that rifle cartridge right now. Okay. And then you have a bolt action, and um, she didn't even know what she shot. I'm trying to help her find her deer. I'm telling her, hey, look, you stay over there and let me try to go over here. I go back, trying to do an all day sit. Next thing I know, man, I think he ended up like doing like one gross at like 123, 124. And man, he comes just running wide open. I whistled at him, stopped him, shot him, and I'm trying to get mine ready. And then this girl comes up, she's like, I might have shot one, but I don't know where it's at. And I'm like, okay, well, let me just try to get mine, somewhere closer. And I'm moving it, and then I'm walking through the woods trying to find her deer. She finds it. She's jumping up and down. It's the first thing she's ever even shot in her life. Come to find out, I help her load it in the back of a Cherokee, and she's driving like 5 hours to Chicago. And
Wow.
I'm like all of this happened. I'm covered in blood. I'm pouring sweat. I finally get back to the lodge, right? And I'm just like dead. I'm like wore out. And I got my buck, and everybody wants to hear the story. And I knew nobody would believe me. So I'm taking pictures and videos of stuff that's happening because I'm like, no one's going to believe this. And the guy that I made really good friends with, he shot 170 inch deer that morning. And he was the only person
Jeez.
to shoot a deer. And I was like, hey man, what happened? He was like, well, after listening to your story, I kind of went out to the stand. Deer walked out in the field. I shot it. I called the guy. He loaded up the back of the razor, and he brought it back here. And now I'm waiting on him to get back with it from the processor. And I'm like, the experience that I just had, you know what I mean? And it cost me like $8 for that tag at that place, plus for the draw that morning. You know what I mean? You had to pay like an additional like little fee that morning to every time you draw your name out of the hat. And I'm just telling the story, and I'm like the adventure part of it and what
Yeah.
I experienced today, like when I'm done and I'm cleaning this deer, like he kind of looked at me and was like, yeah, that actually sounds like you had a lot more fun than I did. You know what I mean? And he was on some really high end hunts.
Yeah.
So I saw that and I was like, that was an adventure that I really enjoyed. And it sounded like chaos in the middle of it, but when I got back home, I was like, holy crap! That's every time I look at that deer, I'll never forget about dragging, you know, that 4 point, three and a
Yeah.
half hours to the truck for this lady. You know what I mean? And me telling her to put her rifle under the seat before somebody comes, and gets us, and then man, you have, two guys with gray beards just walking through the area with crossbows. And I was like, you know how I know you're not legal? And they were like, how? I was like, because you can't even have the crossbow in this area right now. And they were like, oh yeah. And you went at the check-in station this morning, like, I mean, everything that could have went wrong, but and that's part of it. At the end of the day, man, I had a great time. And it's just part of it. And without that side of it, it wouldn't have been near as fun.
Yeah, yeah, man. I'm so glad you said that, man, because we do get caught up in inches and all that stuff, you know. And you're right. That dude that shot that 170, man, he doesn't have half the story that you got, man. You know, I'll see. And guess what? Nobody cares that he shot the 170. Like that's just the way things are now. Nobody gives a crap what how big the deer you shot anymore. And so, yeah, give me adventure every time, man. And then throw in a couple big bucks too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did get to hold his, and it was nice. I was trying to, you know what I mean? I was like, boy, this is a nice buck, but
Yeah, 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 for sure. But the adventure part is really
right,
available. You know, a 170 is not available for everybody. The adventure is that's available
right.
for everybody. They all can taste this, you know, it's just but it takes work and you know, it takes thinking about it and doing it, but you can do it. We've been going for like hour and a half. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. Is there anything you guys wanted to say that you didn't get a chance to say today? Don't feel any
Uh, I'll
pressure.
say I'll say this. We talked a lot about the truck camping, and I don't want anybody to think that we're down in the campers and everything like
No.
that. But people need to embrace that adventure, right? Like you're saying. I mean, I can't tell you the people that I've met in the short journey that I've had in my deer hunting career, I guess you call it. Man, I've met some great people, like honestly, and it's all because of the adventure aspect of it. I mean, I met Matt, honestly, on a coincidence.
Yeah.
So, um, I've met a guy that, he's a local, and I've met him having a beer next to him randomly. I actually think I was having a beer next to his son. And we linked up, and he told his dad that I shot a nice buck. And his dad called me on my cell phone one morning and said, "Hey, so and so's dad." All that, all that. One morning I stepped on my bow site, and he called my phone. He's like, "Hey, how was your hunt?" I said, "Man, I stepped on my bow site. I'm done for the weekend." He's like, "Oh, I'm at work. I got a doe target in my backyard. Go get a new site. Come over and sight it in." If it wasn't for this adventure portion of it, my season would have been done. Yeah, I mean, I would have been cooked, dead in the water. I'd have been driving 2 hours home. So no matter how you're getting it done, right? Whether you're tenting it, you're in a camper, you're in a truck, try to find that leverage that you can gain to keep your adventure going. So if you can find parking spots for your camper, which, I can't, I encourage the truck aspect of it. It's really helped me. Um, Man, just keep that edge. Keep that edge to keep the confidence, and any edge you can find to get it done, man. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think who I want to target is I have friends right now that their adventure part of them is to hang out with their friends and they want to take their camper and they want to eat good every night and one person's going to be the cook, and the two other guys may hunt every once in a while and they absolutely love it and they have fun, right? And I'm not trying to knock that at all, like not even a little bit. I think who I wanted to kind of target on this is like if you're someone who thinking about hunting out of state and you can't look at buying a $5,000 pop-up or even a $20,000 camper and you think all these hurdles are in front of you, then get the kite. I I tried a couple different mattresses. I gave my other one to a buddy. He already bought a cot. He's gonna throw it in the bed of his truck. Start looking now on Marketplace for cheap toppers. Like if you have to get one, the color don't match this. However you want to put it together. There's a I can't think of their name, and I'm not going to linger on it, but there's two guys that run a YouTube channel, right? And they're going all the time. Daniel and Aaron, I think is his name. And he's got a truck
Oh
cab
yeah.
set up, right?
Yep.
And man, he just goes. And so I don't want you to think it's unreachable for you. You know what I mean? Because start now, start trying to plan. And if this is obviously, if you're listening to this, it's something you want to do, and it's very doable and it's very obtainable. And man, you got to get started. And then once it's like a snowball effect, man. Once it'll just keep rolling downhill and get better and better and better. But it can be very intimidating. And I had to just jump right in head first. And so if you're listening and you're like, man, maybe I should go out of state. Because I've had people message me, right? And they're like, hey, I'm thinking about it. And I love that. Like, I'm like, heck yeah, man. Anything I can do to help you, anything I can point you in the right direction, put something together. There's a lot of guys with forerunners right now. There's a lot of guys with some Suburbans or anything. If your wife drives a Suburban, you can lay the back seats down. You can get something together very quick, like that can get you on some public land on maybe a weekend trip to get this adventure started for you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. The only thing I'll say is for me, adventure is the new 180 or the Booner or whatever you want it, the Pope and Young. Like to me, that's what I'm chasing is the adventure of it. And I'm loving every second of it, man. And for all the reasons that you guys were talking about, like being a solo hunter for as long as I have been, and I'm typically that kind of guy, anyways, of a very small circle. And this adventurous life that I found on the road has, I mean, I've built some amazing friendships and met some amazing people, had some amazing adventures, and I can tell stories. And man, I love it. And I want everybody else. You're right. Pop up. It don't matter if you use a pop up, if you use a $50,000 trailer. Who can I don't just get out and have adventure, have fun, enjoy it. And that's obtainable for everybody. Everybody can do that. Listen, so real quick, where can they find you guys? So I would imagine we'll probably get some questions about trucks. Plus, you guys have pictures on there and videos and all that stuff. Where can they reach you at?
You can find me on Instagram, the non-typical Josh Arbogast. I'm a pretty frequent flyer on there, so feel free to message me. I can discuss details, whatever you got any questions, man, reach out. I'm always willing to talk deer, man.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook, preferably Instagram. It's my last name with an extra W, Snow_Ryan. I have a TikTok. I'm starting to post some hunting content on there and some quick videos and breakdowns and stuff. So I don't even know my name or handle on that, but I'll link it to my Instagram. So if you find my Instagram, you can find it. And I've actually had a lot of people message me about truck cameras off of TikTok just because of the way the algorithm works out. And if you like one, if you're thinking about it and you click on it and you like it, it'll just show up in the feed. So yeah, like I'm newer to deer hunting, but you want to talk to me about some designs on truck campers and stuff like that, and just give me a call because that is something I feel I can confidently help somebody with.
That's humble of you with all those bucks behind you. I'm sure you could help them with deer hunting too. All right, everybody. Hey, thanks a lot, guys, for coming out and doing this. I know you gave up your time to do this, and I really appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody coming to the dojo and taking a seat on the mat and listening today. We're going to be back next Thursday with another whitetail master. And until then, embrace the journey.